Hey everyone, this is Christy with the Garden Tower Project again. If you're not familiar with the Garden Tower Project, you can learn more about us and the Garden Tower at gardentowerproject.com. So what we're going to do today, thanks to a suggestion from our friends up in Canada, we're going to show you how to empty the compost tube out of the tower, how to separate your worms and castings and anything that hasn't been digested yet, and then how to put it all back together. Well, not back together, but refill your compost column. So the first thing, it's very, very, very humid here today. We got a great rain shower, but now it's super, super humid. So the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you check the drawer and empty any water that's still left in the drawer back onto your tower. And that way, when we get the compost out of the tube, it's not going into a whole pool of water. So put that back in. So we recommend that you empty your compost, at least push it down some, about every month, 30, 40 days. And the reason for that is if you don't, the roots from all of these plants are going to grow into that compost column, and it's going to be really hard for you to harvest any of your castings or the worms or anything like that. So if you do it a little bit every 30 days, that'll help keep that to a minimum. And then also, we do recommend, or it's a good practice at least, if you're going to do it every 30 days, a week before you are going to plan on emptying your compost, you want to put some fresh food in the top so it draws the worms up, so you have less of a chance of having them all in the bottom when you go to empty the compost. So what we're going to go ahead and do, the first thing that I usually do, and if you can reach, take the lid off. I'm going to set that off to the side. And if you can reach in to the top, you can pull some out that way. And I can barely reach it. So, but if you had just fed them and they're up to the top, then if you can reach down in there, you can grab all of them and kind of pull your worms out and put them off to the side so they don't get mixed in with anything else that's coming out of the compost column. The other thing to mention is that you see how full this tower is. And so you want to make sure that you're not damaging any of the rest of your plants or anything when you're doing this. So like tomatoes, a lot of these are called suckers. They can come off. I kind of damaged one just then when I did that. So you want to make sure that you can get in here well. You might want to pull your plants back so that they're not, so you don't hurt them, right? So I can't, like I said, I can't reach it. So I'm going to take the gate out and set that over to the side. Now nothing fell into the drawer because as you push stuff in, you can see, like, oh yeah, a little bit did. As you put it in, you're kind of compacting it so it doesn't just all drop at once. So what I do is I take a broom handle and I just gently push down in here, and I can feel where, there, and I can feel it dropping now. So you might have more that drops in than your drawer can hold. So we probably will today. So we'll do it. We'll probably empty this drawer a couple times. So I'm going to reach in there And this, right now, at the bottom of that is all, if everybody can see, this is mostly all finished compost and some soil that I left in there when I was filling it. And there's quite a few worms in here too. So we're going to go ahead and sort this real quick. So the way that I do that, so pull this up here and maybe you can see it a little better, is I pour it all in this colander. I should have showed you that. But if you have, I found this, I think it was some kind of decorative colander. So it fits the top of this bucket well. So I just kind of push everything through. And as I find the worms, I'm going to pull them out and put them in this container. And I'm going to put some of this, some of the leaves and some of the finished compost in there just so they're not completely exposed as I find the worms. So we got a couple there. There. And then you can just, move it around. You'll find a few handfuls. And as you can see, when you do that, it's going to push all of your worm castings out and leave everything that's a little too big in here. So as opposed to boring you with me cleaning this whole thing, the other thing you can do is just quickly kind of look through it. This, I see I still have some browns in here. So we'll do that. And there's a few more worms. And Tom is helping me in the background today, everybody. So if you have any questions, you can post them, and he can ask me, or remind me of something that I've forgotten to do. So let's see. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put all of this in here, as opposed to boring you as I sort a whole bunch of that. And then let's get another batch out of here. So you're going to slide the drawer back in. And what are they? Oh, there's my broom. I'm going to take the broom. And if you have this packed in here tightly, this is going to take a little bit of effort, a little bit of strength to push it down. See how well I did there. Oh, we got a lot of stuff that's not digested. Let me pull that down. And then you can always reach in and grab the rest of it. Or anything that's fallen out down there. Let's see how we're doing. Oh yeah, there's several things that are still working their way. So you shouldn't expect everything to be composted, because this is what's considered a continuous flow-through system. So you might want to wear gloves. I don't usually, because obviously I can wash up. But so you're going to have stuff that's undigested that you're going to put back into the system, and that's how it keeps doing the continuous flow through there. So grab another bucket here. So as you can see, there's hopefully it's showing up. There's a lot of undigested stuff in here. So can just easily, that stuff's easy to see. You don't even have to pick through it. I put all of that into another bucket. And I can see some worms in here and this undigested stuff as well. But it can stay with that because they're going to go back in the system. Let's see, oh, we're still tomato, piece of lettuce. I think that's old tea stuff there, old chamomile tea. And then you can put that back on your other bucket and kind of pull some of this out. And you can see probably where I just grabbed, put this bit in here, is a large colony of worms. There's a lot right there. So I'm going to put those over. Because you don't really have to do this because you're going to be reusing this, but it makes it a little bit easier to kind of keep all of the stuff together. If you have a tower that you were using last year and you never emptied the compost out of it, and then now you're either getting ready to start this year or already started growing, you probably you probably have a lot of finished compost already in the tube. So that first step I showed you of kind of sifting the compost, the finished compost or the worm castings, and finding your worms, you want to pull those out, like I said, and put in something separate so you can reuse them in the tower if you have any left from the winter. So go through there. And then what I'm going to do is everything that's in here is the undigested food. And there's still a little bit more here. And some wet browns. Very wet browns. So keep those separate. And then these are fairly dry. They were probably right on the top. So I'm going to put those by themselves. Oh, there's another big pile of worms. If you can see them all crawling there. I think that has a, looks like a mango pit. And they love to lay their eggs and crawl through mango pits and actually pomegranates. They like those a lot too. That's, oh, there it is. And then the rest of this stuff is kind of dry, so I'm going to put that over in a separate spot. And the rest of this looks pretty wet. Okay, so now that we've emptied the compost column, and I've damaged a couple of my plants, you're going to slide the drawer back in, and you're going to slide your gate back in. And remember, these little ribs, oh hey, there's a worm right there, go up. And part of the reason they're set like that is so if you do have pieces that are hanging down, this will kind of help trim it off and let you close it all the way. There we go. So then you need to kind of rebuild what's in here. So done with the broom. So as we talked about in our very long video the other weekend that was an hour plus long, you want to do 3 to 4 parts browns to 1 part greens. So if you do a handful of greens, you want 3 handfuls of browns. So we're going to start this off with the dry stuff. So I'm going to do...
Christy, before we go on to the next part, somebody had asked that if you need to empty it every time, or if emptying a drawer full or two is okay.
Oh, yeah.
That you don't need to empty.
You don't have to empty the whole compost column by any stretch of the imagination. Just a drawer or so, and it helps keep the roots from penetrating. And yeah, you don't have to empty the whole system actually at all if you don't want to. But we empty it completely in the winters if we're leaving the towers outside. So that's 2. Three. And then we're gonna add back in this really wet, undigested stuff. Just a handful. And I'm gonna put a few browns with the worms that were in here. Put those back in. And then I'm going to add another couple handfuls of browns.
Nancy just asked, what would you do if the center post was filled with a tangle of overgrowth of roots from your plants? Does that ever happen?
Yes, it does happen. Let me put this. Yeah, that is the reason that we suggest, and you guys probably couldn't hear that. Somebody asked if it gets really overgrown, what do you do then, where it's completely filled with roots? Well, first, that's why we suggest that you do it every 30 days, so that doesn't happen. But if it's completely root bound, you're just going to have to get something like I was using. You know, a broom handle, or
a flat metal bar.
Or a flat metal bar or something like that. And you're going to have to come in and kind of go down the sides and break all those roots and then work and push it out. And if you can reach, you can pull stuff out from the top. But otherwise it just takes a level of effort to push it down. If it still won't go down, you can take the drawer out, reach in, and try to pull stuff down with your hands, or, you know, poke up and try to create some space to break those roots. It takes some effort to do that, which is why we're suggesting that everybody do this every 30 days. So you just take a drawer or so out so that you don't run into that problem. Okay, I think I lost track of my steps there. I think I got a little bit more wet stuff. And then all the rest of my dry stuff. And this will be, it's like, let's put 2 or 3 layers, 2 layers of food and a few layers of browns. There's a few more browns there that aren't too bad. I'm going to put those in. Clean up my little mess here. And then that should be good to go for another 30 days. So, you know, as you're seeing the compost column go down, you want to make sure that that's when you start feeding it. You feed 1 hand of browns, or 1 hand of greens, 3 to 4 hands of browns. And if it's going down a lot, you might do that every day or every couple days. If it's not moving a bunch, then maybe once a week. It'll depend on how many worms you have in the system. So we're going to put the cap back on. And that's how I empty the compost column. It's a little messy. Some of the questions that we've been asked previously are when you're doing this, what if you take your drawer out and there's worms in the drawer? A few worms in the drawer are no big deal. That's really common. Don't worry about it all. Just put them back in the compost column. If you have a lot of worms in your drawer, then probably your compost column is not balanced. You're gonna need more. You're gonna need more browns than greens. Also, if the compost tea that's in the drawer has an oily surface, then likely that's too many greens as well and not enough browns. So you'll want to take some of that out and start adding more browns to it to help balance the system out. So, Tom, are there any other questions that anybody has asked?
Any other questions coming in?
Okay.
Oh, do you get the worms from outside or your yard? From Cindy.
Hey, Cindy. I order the worms online from reputable composting worm groups. So there's several of them out there. You can do a search in Google, and they're EF composting worms is what you want to look for. Red wigglers. They're not the same as fishing worms, and they're not the same as the worms that you'll get out of your yard. Those are earthworms, and they won't do the composting. Any other questions?
Somebody asked you to move into the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where I am in relationship to the camera, if I'm in or out. One thing, if you guys have been following these videos, obviously I know that the towers grow really, really well, but I even just get surprised myself. So I was looking back through some of the videos, and if you go back to, I think it was a video that we did like around Easter. I think it was the Easter video, which is about a month ago. And then there's the vermicomposting video, and there's me working with the tower video. And you can see all of the growth on each one of those. So it's pretty cool if you just look at the first few seconds of each of those. You can kind of see this is all grown up. Even from the trellising video that I did last week, you see that now I have several beans that I'm going to need to get trellised up as well. So it's just kind of fun to see that, so you can kind of see the time lapse of how it was working. So anyway, it's not very difficult to empty this. The biggest part of it is just stay on top of it so you don't get it root bound, and push it down with a broom handle or some other stick. And if it is very root bound, you'll need to get something a little sharper that you can kind of break those up with. So that's it. So if you have any questions after you watch this video, we'll be posting this up on our Facebook page. You might also, if you're not already, want to join our Facebook user group, which is Garden Training Project, all one word. And there are a lot of files on there. There's specifically one about compost pests. So if you're having a problem with your compost column, join that page and then read those files. It'll definitely help you keep everything in balance. So I think that's it. I'm going to go try to cool off a little bit, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend. Thanks!